I really wanted to come on and discuss a particular issue that I think will help you, because I see it so commonly with so many women. And you're here because either you're single and you hate it, like you're done with it, you want it to change. You feel that you have tried everything, right? You've done what you're meant to be doing and it's just not working. It's just not happening. Whatever it is, it's just not happening. You don't feel a shift. You don't feel a change. And it's so painful, right? Everyone else seems to be getting married and you're either left alone and it's not happening for you and you don't know why. And you ask yourself, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? Like there's something wrong with me on some level. I feel a lot of singles really go through this experience of maybe there's really something wrong with me, really, because everyone else seems to be moving on and I'm not. And you're here also because maybe you hate how others look at you, right? You feel judged. Maybe when you're out, social gatherings, parties, whatever it is, and you're sick of that. And you've tried things, you've tried coaching. It's not that you haven't put in the effort. You've tried coaching, read self-help books, gone to therapy, done other courses, and it was helpful to some degree, but it didn't shift something. That's something still there that you're not sure about. And it didn't shift maybe everything that you wanted it to shift, or you're not sure, you're just in the dark and you're not sure what you want to shift, right? But something's not happening the way you would like it to. And maybe you don't get dates that are in the ballpark. So you get dates suggested, but they're not really right for you. Or maybe you don't get many dates suggested at all. And you're just like, what is going on? It's like crickets out there. You know, that's a really, really common experience. And if you found yourself nodding along to any of these, then this is really the right place for you, because you're not alone, you're in good company. And I really want to help you. And I really feel I can help you. Just so you know, I have 6 clients right now that either just got engaged in the last week or are about to get engaged. Just now, 6 out of a small group. I don't have a huge group. And I know it's because of the inner work. So I'm going to go into that a little bit later about how that works. But I really think that that's really, really important. So you're here because of all these things, and particularly the last one, which is what I want to focus on a little bit more tonight and deep dive, is that you're here because maybe you don't also trust your decision making. That this is the biggest decision of your life, who you marry. And I cannot tell you, I think I would say 98% of all the women I work with feel that they don't trust their decision making. They call their friends, they run around, they're not sure. Should they stop dating this guy? Should they continue dating the guy? I'm not sure. Is my perception of the situation accurate? That's what they're wondering about. And it so pains me because your reality is your barometer. And especially with who you marry, there's nothing more important. There's nothing more important than your subjective experience of who you're dating and how you feel about who you're dating. It's subjective. There's no objective truth to that. It's your own experience. So you have to learn to be able to trust yourself. And so I'm so excited to share the insights and the strategies that I teach now women all over the world with these areas of that you need to shift to be able to get married happily. I'm going to go into what you need to get married happily. Like there's 5 things I see cycling over and over again, 5 things to be able to get married. And before we do that, before we jump in, I want to just share a little bit about who I am. I'm just going to stop this so that you can see me a little bit. 1 second. Let me put a spotlight for everyone. Ooh. Okay. So before we go into the webinar in depth, I got married in my 40s, for those of you that don't know. And it was a very long wait. I only became more observant in my Jewish observance in my 30s. And so it was a very, very, very long journey. And I really understand from my own experience, the pain and the ups and the downs and like the despair and the trying again and the hope and the hopelessness and like, what am I doing wrong? And then dealing with everyone else's expectations and judgments and pressures and family and all that stuff as well, which is another layer on top of your own already, your experience, right? So I really understand that. And really, I made a deal with God and I said, you know, if you get me married, I will help singles. That's really was my deal, thinking I'm just on the side, I'm going to help some people, right? And what happened was it turned into this full-time thing that I do now. I still work part-time for a Jewish organization named Olamite, but full-time I work in this because I did a webinar like this and 180 people came. I was a partner with Saw You at Sinai. And as I was sharing my experience and talking a little bit about the journey, people kept turning their cameras off and they were crying. And they told me later, 30 people emailed me later and said I was crying because it was so validating, and not in a bad way, in a good way, because it was refreshing. It was refreshing, and people don't speak like this to singles. So I said, okay, there's really something here that I can offer that maybe is unique and maybe you don't hear everywhere. And so tonight, first things first, one of the biggest blocks to getting married, and I want you to listen carefully because this is so important, and you don't realize it because when you're in it yourself, you don't realize that you're creating your reality. But one of the biggest blocks itself is feeling like there's something intrinsically wrong with you, is feeling broken. And when you feel broken inside, like maybe there's something wrong with me and that's why I'm not getting married, and have low self-esteem, low self-worth, it affects your dating more than anything else. Because when you go out, you project subconsciously, and we're going to go into the subconscious soon about what that is and how it works, but it projects to your date and to anyone you meet that deep down, I feel like there's something wrong with me. And so I know it's because sometimes you get looked at that way or there's pressure, but if you buy into that and you really think, well, maybe there is something wrong with me, I'm different to everyone else can have a happy life and get married, but maybe there's something wrong with me, then you give that vibe off subconsciously, because 93% of all communication is nonverbal. 93% of communication is nonverbal. Doesn't matter what you say. It's how you look. It's the tone. It's the vibe, right? And it's all made subconsciously. Your subconsciouses are assessing other people and how you feel very quickly in the blink of an eye. So how you really feel about yourself really, really matters. It really, really matters. So what I'm here to tell you, number one, is there is nothing intrinsically wrong with you. There is nothing intrinsic. It's crazy. You'd think you'd have to come on a Zoom for me to tell you this, but there is nothing intrinsically wrong with you. It doesn't mean that you don't have to work on yourself and that you could be blocking your soulmate, the one. You could be blocking it. We're going to go into how that works. It doesn't mean you're not doing any of that, but there is nothing intrinsically wrong with you, meaning you are worthy, you are lovable, and you are good as you are right now. Even with whatever you need to improve, you are worthy and lovable and good. And one of the proofs, by the way, this is fascinating and like astounding and so obvious when I say it. One of the proofs that it can't be because there's something wrong with you that you're not married, right? People think it's because there's something wrong with me that I'm not married. I'm not married. I'm still single because deep down there's something wrong with me. That's how people feel. It can't be that. And the proof of that is because so many dysfunctional people get married. Many, many people with lots of issues, mental health issues, other issues, lots of issues, they get married. Some are happy, some are not, but they get married. So it can't be that that's the defining trait or the defining issue that keeps people single versus married, is that there's something wrong with you, right? It's such an obvious idea, but we don't think that when we're in it. And so that is one thing that is crucial to come from a place within yourself of security, strength, and knowing that you're lovable and good. Now, once we've come from that place and we know that we're secure, lovable, good, I'm a good person, I'm lovable, I'm worthy. Now we can discuss, okay, is there anything that you're doing to get in your own way? Is there anything you need to improve on? Are there any blocks? Now we can discuss all that. Does that make sense? That the first things first, you have to believe in your worth, and you have to believe in your potential, and you have to believe in who you are, and that you are good and lovable and no different to any other person on the planet, right? As far as your worth, as far as your goodness. Now, once we believe that, okay, now let's look at what the effort I need to put in, and like, am I blocking myself in some way? Do I have any fears? Do I need to work through it? Okay, we need to work on that. But the first things first. And so now we can discuss what it means to get in your own way. Yeah, what does it mean to get in your own way? We can block the very blessing that we want. We can block the very blessing that we want. How? Because we are open vessels. That's what we are. We are a vessel in this world, and higher power, God, gives to us blessing. If we aren't open to that blessing, we can get in our own way. We can block it. And we need to look at, how do we become that open vessel? Are we truly open? And there's an inner effort we need to make sure that we are truly open to receive an incredible spouse, right? Because the fears, as I said before, can block us. And again, I want to make very clear here that it's not the only reason people are single, because otherwise I could teach people the tools I teach them and everyone would get married within the course, right? If it was a magic bullet and formula, and it's not. But the fact that so many do, and so many have a shift, and all of a sudden so many get really appropriate suggestions and good suggestions, and then a whole bunch of them got engaged and married even in the middle of the course, like they met their husband in the middle of the course, shows me that there is a lot of power in this inner work. So I feel that we're obligated to do the inner work. It's not just like a nice thing if you're having problems. I really think you're obligated to do the work. If you're not married after a couple of years of dating, and if you're not where you want to be, then this is a very valid focus on the effort that you need to put in, other than just the practical effort of going to singles events and going out on dates and apps and all those things, as well as spiritual effort of like prayer and trusting God and all that stuff. That's important too, but we have to do the inner effort. So let's get to it. Let's get to the inner effort. There are 5 things that you need to get married, right? 5 things you need to be able to find the one. And I'm saying this with complete clarity and confidence because I see this over and over again with hundreds and hundreds of women, that if you don't have these 5 things, it's very hard to get married easily without a lot of distress. Okay. What are the 5 things? The 5 things are clarity. First one is clarity. What do I mean by clarity? Clarity is clarity on what you're looking for. So if you sometimes worry that you don't know clearly what you're looking for, this is what you need to work on. Like, what am I looking for? Am I clear on what I'm looking for? And in order to be clear on what you're looking for, you need to know yourself, right? So that's number 1. Number 2, confidence. Confidence in the navigating the dating system is what I'm referring to here. So this is your area of work. If you're not confident in navigating the dating world, meaning you're not sure what to choose, you're not sure when to go out, you don't know whether to stop with a guy or keep going with a guy. Should I end it? Should I not? Like, not just thinking about it for a little bit, but kind of ruminating. I really don't have confidence in this. I don't know how to vet guys. I'm like, should I go out with everyone? Because you never know. I'm like, that's a whole other thing. I go on my rant, right? You know if you should go out with a guy. You don't go out because you never know when the guy's been married 5 times and has 50 kids, right? You know if the guy's in the ballpark, but you don't trust yourself. It's a different issue. But you have to have confidence in navigating the dating system and saying no without worrying and without guilt. Third one that you need is self-worth. This is, again, one of the biggest blocks. I think I'm going to do a webinar about this, a whole webinar about this, another month. Self-worth. Do you feel deep down, really honestly with yourself, do you feel worthy of an amazing guy? Do you feel really worthy of an amazing guy? A lot of the times when women don't feel worthy, which is very, very common, they want it, but deep down they don't feel it. And there's a discrepancy, a dissonance between what their head wants and what they actually feel. And then because of that, they come across as desperate on a date. They come across how it expresses as desperation. I want him to like me. And what if he doesn't like me and he rejects me? And like, there's that kind of vibe. Even if you're not saying it, that's the vibe. The energy is desperateness. So you have to know whether you deep down feel worthy of an amazing guy so that you can do some work around this area if you don't. And another key indicator that this is an issue for you is that you attract unavailable men. If you attract unavailable men, emotionally unavailable, maybe they're avoidant, but they're not present, they're not sharing their emotional world with you, or they're not available, meaning they're not over their ex, or they're, God forbid, tied up in another relationship, or they're just not available. They're distant emotionally. And on some level that may feel familiar if it repeats a pattern from childhood, or you just feel like real intimacy is too scary, or I don't feel worthy of it. So I'm not going to let it in. I'm truly not open to it. That's a very, very big one. Okay. Self-worth. Number 4, inner peace. Now, no one has perfect inner peace. What do I mean by inner peace? Inner peace means, I mean that you're calm enough, centered enough, grounded enough to be able to date present and connected and without a level of anxiety that can hijack you, right? You have to have a certain level of ability. We all get anxious. We all get triggered. It's not about being perfect, but it is about getting back to a place of like, if I get anxious, I know how to soothe myself. I know how to calm myself down. I know how to ground myself. It's one of the things I teach. Again, in the course, I'll go into another time, but it's so important because you need to know how to self-soothe and ground and deal with your anxiety and not let it hijack you and overtake you, but that you be in charge of it. So you need to have a certain level of inner peace to show up. So this is for you, this area of work. If you're so anxious inside that you can't show up and be present on dates on some level, you're so worried in your head and you're analyzing everything, or you're ruminating, or you're worrying, or you're so doubtful, right? That kind of, or you feel such dread when you go out on a date because you're so worried you're going to get rejected because you're so anxious. or you're not able to develop a deeper connection. You're not able to be present, that even though you go out on date 1, date 2, date 3, that stops after that because you're so anxious that you can't open up, you can't share, you can't develop a level of real connection and intimacy. Okay, last one, which I want to focus on tonight, self-trust. Self-trust is the 5th one that you absolutely must have in order to be able to get married. And this is so important. Can you trust yourself in your decision-making? And this is for you if you're confused and because you don't trust your decision-making ability, right? Especially with this biggest decision of your life. And often this connects, interestingly, to lack of trust in others. So if you don't trust yourself, you actually won't trust others. And they go together. So if you say, I have trust issues, the first place to start is with yourself. And guess what? You can teach it. You can actually learn how to trust yourself, right? Somewhere you were told you can't trust yourself by whatever circumstances or environments. And you actually can, right? Because the body doesn't lie. So I'm very into helping people tune into their bodies, which we're going to go into in a minute. And I'm going to go into self-trust in depth right now. So self-trust. Oops. Uh-oh. There we go. Nope. 1 second. Stop share. I did a Google search, which is not good. Hang on. Where am I? There we go. Sorry, bear with me for a sec. Technical difficulties. There we go. Can you see that? Self-trust? Yes. Self-trust. Can you see this? Everything's good? Okay. As you trust yourself more, you will trust others more. That's a really key point that we just talked about a little bit. But again, you don't have to work on both because as you build that trust in yourself, you'll naturally trust others because you'll feel solid in yourself. But self-trust is about listening to your body. I trained in somatic psychotherapy on top of my psychology because I found this to be so incredibly powerful. I had a personal experience that changed my life. I'll actually share it. I wasn't planning on sharing it, but I will, which is that when I was in my early 20s, I started developing anxiety out of nowhere and I didn't know why. And I knew enough about psychology. I was studying psychology to know this is not normal, typical. And I went to do a personal development workshop at one point. And in that workshop, there was some body-oriented exercises. And one of the bodywork exercises was to let yourself feel in your body and let yourself just have your feelings and release it, which I never was used to doing. I was very intellectual and very in my head all the time. And I'd never really integrated the two. And I let myself feel and I let myself express. And I actually came to a place of acceptance of my whole being. And I got in touch with some grief that I hadn't ever expressed really before about my father dying when I was young. And I thought I dealt with it, but I obviously hadn't. And overnight, my anxiety disappeared. And I realized that anxiety was a symptom that was connected to unresolved processing of feelings. And I was like, this is unbelievable. So I went and studied 2 years of a specialist training in somatic psychotherapy. And it's very easy to teach people how to listen to their body because the body doesn't lie. The body stores everything in it, which I'm going to go into in a minute around the subconscious. But the subconscious is really the driver behind what's going on in the body. And if you want to know what's happening in your subconscious, you tune into the body. All right. The body becomes the indicator of what's happening at a deeper level in your own subconscious. So we want to learn how to listen to our body. And there are 3 faculties of the body when you're making decision-making that are really, really important to tune into. And these are head, heart, and gut. When you are deciding who to marry when you're dating, you must tune into your head, to your heart, and to your gut. And there are 3 different faculties that have different areas of frequency, feedback, input, feelings, desires, right? Different things. They're different operating systems. And what most people do is they analyze with their head and they go round and round and round, analyzing the pros and the cons. And well, he's this, he's that, he's great on paper, he's excellent, but they don't feel it or they ignore necessarily. They don't really think about how they feel. And that's a real problem. So the head is connected to practical, right? So let's do a little exercise. I'll just go through it. Head is connected to logical. Does this make logical sense? Is it practical? The heart is connected to love and connection. Do I want to love this person? And do I want to receive love from this person? Do I feel like I want to connect here in my heart? Yeah. Does it make me expand? And gut is in the stomach and is, do I feel stable? Do I feel solid? Do I feel safe around this person? Totally different things. So right now, if you want to do a little exercise, I want you to think, if you're dating someone, I want you to think about the person you're dating. And if you're not dating someone, I want you to think of a decision that you need to make. It doesn't have to be a huge decision. It can be a little decision. Where am I going for Passover? What am I doing for the, whatever, whoever I'm going, do I feel like going to this event on next week? Right. And whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But I want you to pick a decision. Pick a decision right now that you have to make, a real one. Do I take the job? Right. Whatever it is, I don't care what it is. And what I want you to do when you have that decision is I want you to just close your eyes for a minute, take a deep breath. And I want you just to take your attention to your head and ask your head. The head is the center of logic, practicality. Is this a logically, practically sound decision to make? Like yes or no? Just yes or no. Doesn't make sense, this decision, to do it. And just see what comes back from your head. Yes or no? Does it make sense? Is it practical, logical? That's it, right? Yes or no. You'll get a yes or a no straight away if you ask your head. If it's a no, I want you to ask your head, what would I need or what would need to happen for it to become a yes? What would need to happen for it to become a yes? And you might, again, just hear a phrase or a sentence. Usually it's very short. It's not a whole analysis. Just a short phrase, short sentence. This needs to happen. Okay, great. Now I take your attention to your heart. And I want you to focus on the decision, but take your attention. And this is the tricky part. I want you to put your hand on your heart and take your attention to where your hand is on your heart. So as you press with your hand, the pressure on your heart, I want you to bring your attention to where you feel the pressure. And I want you to ask your heart as if you're asking another person. Does this make sense on a heart level? Do I feel connected, energized, like I want to give and receive love here? Whatever the decision is. Do I feel connected to it? Yes or no? And ask the heart and wait for an answer. It just pops into your head straight away. And depending on what it is, if you get a no, then you say, so what would need to happen for my heart to want to say yes? And see what comes up. And then we want to do the same thing with the gut. So put your hand on your gut and ask your gut, does this make sense? Is this a good decision? From a gut point of view, do I feel safe and secure and stable if I make this decision? If I go ahead with this, will I feel secure, safe, and stable? Yes or no? Put your hand on your gut, take your attention to your gut and ask your gut as if it's another person. Ask your gut, yes or no? If it's a no, so you ask, what would it need for it to be stable and safe? If anything could happen, what would it need? And you'll hear an answer. Yes or no? What would it need? And then you have a sense of what's going on in a broken down way with yourself to be able to understand where you're at with this decision and what needs to happen for you to get into an alignment with it with 3 yeses. I just had a client last night. She's dating a guy for a long time and she was thinking of breaking up with him for a long time. She didn't know if she should break up. And we did the head, heart, gut, this exact exercise. Her head said, yes, it makes sense to be with him. Her heart said, no, it doesn't. And I said, what would you need to feel for it to change, or what would need to happen? She said, I would need to feel understood. Oh, okay. So that's something we can work on, right? She needs to feel understood. It could be how she's communicating. It could be how he's expressing. That's workable. But it told her very clearly, the heart, I need to be understood. Then we asked her gut. We said, do you feel safe, secure, and stable with the guy? And guess what her gut said? No. We said, no problem. What do you need, or what needs to happen for you to feel safe and stable and secure? And guess what her gut said? She was like this. And I was like, well, what? And she said, he needs to be a different person. That deep down, she would never feel safe with him. And she got absolute clarity in that moment. It needs to be over. She's breaking up with him tonight. So, but with clarity and I hear in her voice, total confidence, total clarity, because she got it from herself. So that's what I want to give you as a gift to walk away with. It's the most powerful tool to use for any decision making. I have more detailed ways to make decisions and stuff like that I could teach you if I speak to you, but this is one of the simplest ways I could teach you for tonight that I want you to take away, and hope that is added value for you. And it is really, really powerful. And you can, pretty much anyone can do it if you just let yourself sit quietly and tune into each one. Okay, so what happens here? Like, let's say we're in a relationship and I'm feeling one of these 5 areas like that I don't really have that, and I'm not sure what to do about it. I want to share with you a little bit about the conscious and the subconscious, because this is really why I started the course and the work that I do, because I found there's not a lot of people out there doing this work. There's a lot of great people, amazing mentors, amazing coaches, amazing therapists. They give you great advice. And they do a lot of work at the talk therapy conscious level, at the conscious part of our brain. But they don't do a lot at the subconscious necessarily. Some do. You have to find the right ones, right? There's some certain therapists that access the subconscious, hypnotists and EMDR, and there's different modalities that access the subconscious. But in general, I just want to show you about this, right? That there's the conscious mind here. The tippy top of the pyramid is the conscious mind. It's very small. And this is the part of our mind that is aware and analyzes. It's left brain. It's what we want to show the world and what we're aware of. And it only comprises 20% of our actions and reactions, only 20%, which is really not many, right? And it's what we want people to know about us. It's what we're aware of, right? It's the projected image into the world. And it's not fake, but it's just a smaller part. And underneath the surface is this huge area of the mind called the subconscious. The subconscious, I call like a back filing cabinet. And it's the part of us that we're not aware of, meaning by definition, you're not aware of it. And what happens is, as we grow up, is that every meaningful experience we ever had is stored here, both pleasant and unpleasant. And it takes energy to store, but it's an amazing capacity that we have, that we were given as a gift, to store things that might be too much for us as kids or were too overwhelming. And we store it, like we shelve it back in the filing cabinet. And what happens is, as we get older and stronger and wiser, it wants to come up and integrate. We want to become more conscious, right? When you're more conscious, you become more elevated. You have more choice over your life. You have more mastery over yourself. And what happens is these subconscious experiences and what become belief systems. I have enough experiences. I then start to believe certain things about the world and about myself. And they just operate automatically in the background all the time, right? Certain beliefs. So let's say we learned trust when we were young. If you didn't have people who were consistent for whatever reason, or you had some family adversity, challenge, pain, then we might learn that other things are more important than myself, or I learned to ignore myself, right? I learned that I can't have really needs because there's too much chaos going on, or mom and dad need too much going on. I need to be a good girl because then I get the most praise for that. And you can learn that our feelings and our body cues and what we need is not important, right? It's not. Like, I'm just giving you one example, for example. So this becomes a belief system, right? I can't ask for what I need. That becomes a belief. I can't ask for what I need. It's bad to ask for what I need. A lot of women feel this. Somehow I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to create conflict. I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to be a pain. I want to people please. So all you people pleasers out there, this is for you. You learned this belief system. It's not okay for me to ask for what I need because it might create conflict. And I, at all costs, want to avoid conflict. I want to people please. Yeah, because it wasn't safe. It wasn't safe to ask for what I need. It was uncomfortable. It was painful on some level. And it's bad to feel certain feelings. So we cope, we ignore them. We ignore these feelings that I can't ask for my needs to be met. And then we stay silent, or we just keep busy as a distraction, right? We just keep busy. I just want to ignore these feelings. I just push them away in the filing cabinet, keep busy until we can't anymore. Meaning the body decides at some level, I'm done. I need to process. I need to integrate. It needs to come out somewhere. Can't just keep everything down. It becomes a pressure cooker inside. And at some point, that pressure cooker will blow. And how does it blow? It means that your body starts to scream at you, little whispers, little yells, and then it gets bigger and bigger. It's either numb, or it's anxious, or it's creating ailments, some sort of ailments. You go get all the tests, comes back, nothing's really wrong, but you know that you have symptoms. You know that it's really, really painful, right? Or you keep repeating the same old patterns that keep happening that are painful in your life, and you don't know why. And it keeps coming back as a mirror moment. And you're like, what is going on? I'm the common denominator here. This is crazy. What's happening? So that's your subconscious trying to be integrated. You continue recreating the same patterns from your subconscious, right? We have what's called a reticular activating system, which is a radar that looks for experiences in my current life that match my past experience and my past belief systems. So let's say, I'll give you an example. Let's say I'm scared of rejection. Let's say as a kid growing up, it could be at school, it could be the family. I never felt fully loved and accepted, let's say, right? Or I got kicked out of peer group at school, which is very common for women. So I never felt accepted. I'm always rejected. And it was really painful as a kid, because as a kid, everything's a big deal. So I grow up, and as I go out on dates, I want to guard myself. I want to protect myself, because under no circumstances do I ever want to feel that pain of feeling rejected again. So I go out really guarded, and I'm smiling and I'm projecting a great image. And at some point the guy says, she's really nice, but like, I didn't feel a connection, so I'm going to end it. And so guess what happens? You get rejected, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. We create the same thing, the same patterns, right? Let's say I don't trust myself in my own decision-making. So I show up all ambivalent, and I don't trust myself. I don't know if this is good. Is it not good? I'm not sure. So I project a very insecure, uncertain image to the guy that I'm dating. And he's like, it feels or triggers him. Like, she's not really into me. So I'm going to end it because he feels insecure. And he goes, see, I knew I couldn't trust anyone. So it really recreates a reality in your life. We create what's called a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah. And we need to start owning that in the patterns where we keep recreating things, we see that we're the common denominator. And when you do that, you actually are in the position of changing it, because you can own it. So I want to give you a couple of examples, because one of my clients, let's call her Sarah, she didn't trust men. This is a true story. Her parents got divorced, which is pretty common nowadays. And because of that, her father didn't live with her, and she felt abandoned on some level by her dad, even though it was the right thing for the parents. And when she learned to heal the part of herself that was wounded and hurt by her dad leaving, right? She didn't have as much contact with him, obviously, as she wanted. She built a relationship with herself when she learned how to nurture that wounded little girl that was hurt that her daddy left, and was now projecting it on every guy that she meets, that you're just going to do the same thing. The subconscious believed, emotionally, I'm going to be hurt by you because I can't trust men. And in the middle of that change, her husband walked into her life in the middle of my course. She's now happily married. And she said, it was because I knew how to manage that really, really scared, insecure, wounded part of me. She knew how to handle that. She knew how to connect with it, so it wouldn't hijack her life. And before that, it was absolutely hijacking her life. So that's one example. There's another lady I worked with named Miriam. Let's call her Miriam. She's not a real name. She's in her 30s, and she's a business owner, had a lot going for her, super smart, everything like that. But she didn't trust herself. She just felt like, I'm going to mess this up. I'm not going to be able to deal with marriage on some level. I'm going to fail. It was fear of failure, right? On some level, it was a fear of failure. And when we worked through the tools together, and she, in the middle of actually, was it in the middle of dating? I think it was like 3 months after we finished the coaching. She met her husband. She's happily married now. And I asked her, what was it? What was it that helped you get married? And she said, knowing that I could handle whatever came up. She had this confidence in herself that I could handle whatever came up. So even if I make mistakes, it's okay, because I can handle it. So that was her own inner shift that allowed her to be open. There was another client I had dated someone, ended it with the guy, right? Ended it. Nice guy, but not on the same page. Came and did my course, was super intellectual. And she got clarity about she needed to be within her heart. And as she did that, he walked back into her life, really pursued her, and she got clarity that really it was right, and she got engaged. So she could have missed that soulmate. She could have missed him. She could have said no and walked away had she not done the inner work, right? That was really important. So the question is, do you want to really, there we go, feel certain, hopeful, and open to finding him? Is that what you want, right? Do you want to have clarity and confidence to find the one? Do you want to feel deeply worthy of an amazing man? Do you want to trust your decision-making? And do you want to feel peaceful when you date? Because these are really the most important things that we need to learn to internalize to be able to date in a very confident, open way. And I will teach you how, right? It's the same strategies that worked for me, and it will save you a lot of time. And what I do is I do it through a course using online modules, one-to-one sessions. Online modules, you have lifetime access. You go back and review all the visualizations and exercises and PDFs and all that kind of thing. One-to-one, as we go in like surgery, right to the root of where you think you're blocked, which you'll get clarity on as you go through the course. We have 8 group calls on a Tuesday night. where you actually can see me coach in action how I apply the tools, ask tons of questions, hear from other people who have the same questions as you. It's not group therapy. We don't go around the room saying what our problems are. It's group coaching, which is really applying the tools. And it's the most powerful element of the whole course. Every person tells me they're not a group person and they don't want group. Literally, nearly every person tells that to me. And then by the end, they say it's so powerful. And they love it, and they're missing those groups because they were anchors and they learned so much about from each other, not just me. I really think it adds a dimension that you don't get. And many people try to make these changes on their own through self-help books, coaches, therapists, and whatever, with great advice. But they don't necessarily, if they're not dealing at the subconscious level, then they don't. What happens is the majority of my clients come to me and say, I know my issues, I know what my problems are, I can't change how I feel about it. And there's a discrepancy between what they know, because they're self-aware, they're pretty self-aware, a lot of the clients I deal with, but I can't change how I feel. So let's say I know I need more self-worth, but I know I need it, but I don't know how to feel it. And what I do in the course, we cover subconscious wounds, subconscious blocks, right? Do you have any? How do you find out? How do I actually work with those to heal them so they don't run my life anymore? It's the most important piece. Another one is, how do I date for my higher self? How do I actually go out on a date from my higher self rather than the lower self that has those wounds and fears? So I'm not living from reactivity, but I'm living from a place of expansiveness and choice. And it's very, very possible. It's very possible to learn how to shift into that different state. Masculine, feminine. Do I date from my empowered feminine? It's very, very important. And we also deal with, obviously, any practical dating questions. You get me as a dating coach as a bonus. I really think it's a bonus. Many, many women are not dating. When they're doing it, they're really wanting to do this deeper work and to shift. And then, of course, I can't promise that a lot of great guys will walk into your life as you're in the middle of it, because that's what happens with a lot of people. I just got a message from a client said, I've had more fantastic dating suggestions in the last 3 weeks than the last 3 years, literally. I was like so excited to hear that. And I'm so excited because it's so empowering to feel that shift in your life, right? Again, I can't guarantee your husband's going to walk into your life, but he just may. So if you're really, but don't take it from me. I just want to show you a couple of things. This is from a recent graduate. She said, I needed the push to do deeper work. And Jackie gave me that in a gentle, empathetic way. It was cathartic for me. It was also so validating to hear everyone's experiences on the group call, and really empowering to see my progress and everyone else's through Jackie's coaching. Oh, and I got engaged. I could not recommend this course enough. What happened to her? She's an amazing lady. She was just quiet. She just wouldn't speak up about what she needs. So if something was uncomfortable in the date, what does she want to do? Oh, it's not for me. I'm going to end it and run, right? That's what a lot of women do. It's not for me. He did something I don't like. Rather than deal with it and be confronted and bring it into the relationship and be vulnerable, I'm just going to end it and leave because I'm not into that. And we create all these reasons in our head. Like, that's when you can be described as too picky. There's all these reasons in your head as to why you're going to end it. And instead, I encouraged her to take it back into relationship. One of the things she said was that, like, he talks too much and she's super quiet, so she wasn't going to interrupt him. So I said, so tell him. No, I can't tell him that. That's rude. So what, you're going to end it and walk out of his life? Like, how is that not ruder? And she's like, yeah, you're right. So she goes back, and we discussed some ways to bring it up. And she goes back and she tells him, she says, listen, I don't know if you realize, you probably don't realize, but you speak a lot, and I'm not the type to interject and interrupt, and I don't know what to do. And he's like, you're right. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I really do. I do that when I'm nervous sometimes. They had such a real conversation that now they could talk about it, and then they created a real bond. And she got engaged to him in the end, So this is like an example, a real life example of how it can shift. And once she shifted that in herself, she could show up and she could have a deep bond with him. And then it was the right one, right? This is another lady, course taught me to change all my negative beliefs I previously had about men and allow myself to receive them out of my dreams with open arms. He walked into her life in the middle of the course. She got engaged about a month after the course, and now they're happily married. And this is the final one. The course enabled me to connect with my true self, be vulnerable, understand my needs, and allow me to be open to receive my husband. My man walked back into my life a few months later after the program, and I am now happily married. I highly recommend this investment in yourself. I'm forever grateful to Jackie for her support, guidance, for teaching these concepts from a Torah perspective. So coming from a Jewish perspective, I think is really, really crucial. And here is my offer to you. My offer is that Passover is coming. Pesach, Passover. It is an enormously powerful time to transform yourself. Right before Pesach and right before Rosh Hashanah are two incredibly powerful times in the year where God says, I'm going to help you jump exponential levels in your growth. You are crazy if you feel driven to do this, or motivated or excited, or if this is resonating with you. this is the time to do it, because there's extra spiritual power coming down into the world right before Passover, leading up and building up and building up to Passover. So we are offering a special 20% off offer. This is a QR code. If you open a camera in your phone and put your camera up to the screen, it will take you to a link to register just for a call with me, free call. Jump on a call, have a discussion about what you'd want out of the program, what you would want from me, and how I can help you. I really want to help every one of you to get married. And I really, really believe that I can. For those of you who know my story, it was a crazy story when I made this shift inside myself, and my husband was suggested to me the next day after I made the shift. So I really saw the power. I can't guarantee that for everyone, but I do see incredible results with people as they work on themselves. And when the right time is, he walks into your life. So please do this. And what I'm going to do for you guys on the webinar, because you've joined me and I love you, is to give you a bonus special power pack, which is a whole bundle of different PDFs that I have about tips, real practical tips, how to spot a narcissist, how to let go of your ex, how to date, and dating tips of like deepening the connection, where to go on dates, like tons and tons of information and tips I'm going to give you also if you sign up by Passover. So you'll have till April 4 to jump on a call with me, decide you want to join and register, and you can join the course after Passover, but you need to be going through the process of deciding that before Passover, so we can lock in that higher level of freedom, breaking free of your limiting beliefs, or your inner Egypt, as we say, right? And if this speaks to you, please click on this QR code, and I'm happy to take questions, comments, protests. I see there's a whole bunch in the thing. Hang on one second. I'm just looking through. I just realized there was a whole lot of chats. Okay. Any questions? How will you get access to that stuff? How will we get access to that stuff you spoke about? Which stuff?
Oh, you were mentioning the end and the narcissistic package. All
yeah. If you sign up,
stuff.
Yeah, if you sign up for the course, we're going to send it to you. Don't worry. We're going to send it. We have all your emails because you registered through the event.
Only if you sign up for the course. Okay, I thought it was like a bonus for this.
It's a bonus if you decide to join on. We'll give you a 20% off, and we'll also give you that bundle. Okay. Any other questions? I hope it made sense. I hope the self-trust tool, head, heart, gut, was useful. And if you have any questions, please feel free to DM me on Instagram if you're on Instagram. And if not, we will see you soon, hopefully on a call.